You are listening to the People Centric Podcast, where we talk through the toughest challenges that people face at work and give practical advice to fixing those challenges. Thanks for joining our movement to create workplaces that are happier, healthier, aligned, and empowered by putting people at the center of all that we do.
Hey, people-centric leaders. If you are a leader out there and you're people-centric and you're listening to this, I think I already know something about you. I think you're probably at least a little bit driven. I think you're a person that probably likes to be successful. You're listening to a podcast right now about leadership, like probably in your spare time, trying to get better at what you do. And what I know about driven people, as being one of the driven people, and being on a podcast full of driven people right now, everybody on this call are driven people, is that we love levers in our lives. And so, what do I mean by a lever in our life? Like a lever means we'll go all in. I'm going to learn about this podcast. I'm going to go do this. I'm going to buy this new exercise machine. I'm going to go all in on. I'm going to learn this thing. Or I've learned a new tool. I'm going to apply it everywhere I go. I am authentic. I am me. World, hear me roar. I'm going to go take on everything by maximizing everything that I can do. That's high performers do that. We tend to do that. We like to win. You see that on commercials all the time. You know, if you got to perform like a champion, you got to drink like a champion, which is why I'm drinking. No, I won't do the commercial. I was tempted to do it, but I won't do that because we're not getting paid for that. Somebody wants to pay us to do that. We can do that. Diana, are we accepting ad dollars yet?
I mean, yeah, sure. Yeah. I was going to say like for energy drinks, I don't know, but yeah, send us your dollars. I'll create
That
an
was,
ad.
that was not an energy drink. It's electrolyte drink.
Oh, an electrolyte drink. Yeah, you're right. Well, either way, send us dollars. I'll figure out an ad. Yeah.
It's an electrolyte. And I would say the name of the drink if they sent me dollars. And I'm just saying, I don't know whose drink it is if they wanted to.
I don't know that anyone from there is listening, but if you are,
Okay, if you are, give us a call and we would sponsor you can sponsor us. But anyways, levers in the lives. We like levers. But here's the thing, I'm going to propose something to you, and this is what we're going to talk about. And our team has been talking about this a little bit, is what about dials? It's like a lever is all on or all off, right? But dials, they have a little more nuance to them. There's a little more finesse. Like, okay, maybe we're not asking you to change yourself. Maybe we're just saying dial yourself down a little bit. Or maybe if you're managing somebody else, how you manage them might differ based on the person and where they're at. Maybe you might have a conversation with somebody that's at a 3 and another person, same conversations at an 8 because of the history and what's happened. Maybe in relationships, there's times where you should dial up, and maybe there's times when you should dial down. And what does that look like? And even stories that you hear from other people and how you feel about other people in your life, it's really easy to be black and white about it and say it's either this way or this way, which is a lever thought, and maybe it's a dial. Maybe we should have more dials in our life. So we're gonna dial in now on this topic, and we've got Diana. Diana already said hi, said we're accepting the sponsorship dollars, and then we've also got Bethany on as well, who correctly identified it as an electrolyte drink, not an energy drink, because I don't like energy drinks. Energy drinks dial me up too high, and I don't like that as a lever.
you don't even do caffeine anymore, right? Like you're
I,
a
I'll do like an iced tea or something. I'll do like the lower caffeine drinks. I was hardcore about it and wouldn't drink anything with caffeine in it, but then I realized like that doesn't really impact me that much
You
right
gave me a drink one time that made me crazy. It
now.
was some
When does it wear
by
off? When does it wear off,
coconut
Diana?
water or something. What?
Oh, the coconut
When does
water.
it wear off?
When does it wear off? It didn't. It changed me forever. No, it was like I don't do caffeine either. And you gave me some coconut drink and it gave me the jitters and my heart was racing and I don't
It have
understand.
caffeine in it?
It does. Yeah. Yeah.
You
I don't
didn't
want to
warn me.
be,
I thought you didn't do caffeine either. And so I thought it was safe. I was
I didn't
not.
know it was in there.
Oh my goodness.
I didn't know it was in there. So that did surprise me. Yeah. We had a client that was giving those to us and I thought, oh, coconut water, this is good. But they actually add caffeine to that one.
It's
So,
wild.
You
so
have to
sorry
be
about that.
careful. They're adding caffeine to so many things. You got to check.
You gotta
You
check.
do have to check. They just add it and then you're dialed way up and that's really, really bad. So, all right.
That just levered me all the way on. There was no dial. Just
you're
like
just until you're off and then you crash, right?
And
So
I crash.
it's not a bad kind of image to have, right? If like you're going, I'm gonna get this, and then boom, and then you collapse at your desk and just fall asleep for an hour, right? That's all on and then all off on things. So where should we start? Where should we start talking about dials? When I say dials in life, like where do you think that either you can use it or other people can use it? Where do we want to begin? Let's dial in this one. Let's go from a one to a three now.
Well, I was just thinking that when you were kind of introing it, I was thinking like, yeah, I think with health stuff, that's what I typically do is like I have not traditionally been good at like the dials. I'm like, okay, it's time to get healthy. Let's do it. We're gonna do everything. So we're gonna do like 75 hard. So I'm like, I'm gonna do the blood type diet and I'm gonna work out twice a day and I'm gonna read 500 books this year, and then it's like not manageable. Like you can't sustain that forever. And obviously you can't, but it feels like if you just attack it all with a really hard lever, then like something will stick, is I guess how it feels, but that's not the reality.
Yeah, I remember what it was a couple of years ago that you were going to go through a program and you were talking to me because I had just gone through some
It was
stuff.
probably 75 hard. Yeah.
And you're like, let's do this together. And I was like, yeah, I'm in. Let's do it. And then you started showing it to me. And I was like, I do not want to do those things. That looks, that was a lot. It was, and you did it, right? Did you do it? Did you get through all the way?
Yeah.
You crushed it. Yeah.
It
So
was
what's the problem with that?
Well, like I said, I think it's just not sustainable. So if my goal is to like create a healthy lifestyle, like I am for 75 days, or if you do, some of them are like 30 days or whatever, that's cool. But then it just, you have to be able to like manage something regularly day to day, probably. And it usually just falls off. Like, just, you can't do all of that.
Yeah, the
And you're
long term, we as humans, there's something about us that we like to do the all in thing. Just show me the thing and I'll go do it and I'll work really hard. But then if you're sprinting, you're not running long term and things kind of wear off over time. Yeah, I like that. Diana, how about you? When you think of dials, where do you think of?
It's a good question. I have a lot of levers. I'm not a dial human. It's just not my natural tendency to have dials. I am one of those people that are
Oh,
like, I'm going all in on everything all the time. But when we started this conversation, I was thinking about something my strengths coach told me when I did like the five, what is it? Strengths Finder? Strengths Finder. I got my top five, and in the top three was achiever, command, and competition. And the strength coach looked at me and was like, "You're a lot." And I was like, "Man, you can't say that to people. That's mean." And she was like, "You're gonna be fine, but you need to work on your dials." Like that was her exact words to me. And so I've thought a lot about like, what does that look like as a dial instead of like I'm going to compete and command and achieve all things all the time. And so I've had to like, what what is what does normal and not insane look like? I don't know. I'm still working on it.
yeah, normal and not insane. Yeah. Have you figured it out yet? Have you, because
Nope,
asking
nope,
for a friend, just if you
no, no.
know. Okay.
I mean, maybe a little in some parts of my life, but overall, no. Like, no.
Yeah. It's hard to do. Again,
So
there's a little
hard.
bit of our human nature to want to do all those things. And yeah, those three strengths specifically was a strengths finder that Gallup puts out. There's books that you can get, by the way, if you're looking for that, how to take that assessment. You can buy the book and you can get your own assessment and it unlocks your top five strengths, or you can measure all of the strengths and it will rank them all for you from top to lowest. And then you can focus on your top and figure out how to work through those. One of the things that's interesting about that is they talk about dialing, like you're dialed up because of those strengths are all really high strengths. They also talk about in that training that I've learned from our friend Alina, who's a strengths finder coach, is you can dial up or down each of those different strengths. So you can take your top strength and you can dial it up too high, and then it could be called, if you dial it too high, then your strength has what they call a basement to it, which means the strength becomes kind of a weakness because it's dialed up too loud. It's too much, or if it's dialed too low, then you're not using it, and that's which is a problem. So there's a sweet spot to dial it in, where then it becomes what they call a balcony, where now the strength is actually used in the right amount. I was thinking about like my top strength is strategic, is I like to think about the future. So like when mine is dialed up to a 10, I can think of times, especially when I was like working at 3M, I would be driving to work and I would have a meeting in the morning. And I would think, okay, I don't think this meeting is going to go very well because I'm about to launch this project and I've got some people in the room that are probably not going to want to do it. And I'm going to try to get this. And so then I would start playing through the meeting in my head of what was going to happen and who was going to say what, including people who are probably going to try to torpedo the meeting or shoot down things. And by the time I'm at work, I'm already mad at the people who I think are going to say things. Like I've already played it out. Like in my head, it's already happened. Like and so then the one person who I think is going to shoot down an idea would raise their hand and say, like, well, I've got a quick question about that project. And like early career Don would be like, I'll bet you have all I need is your support right now. That's what I need from you. And I'm suddenly responding. They're like, did I miss something? Why is he already mad at me? I haven't done anything yet. It's that. So that's like a strategic strength dialed all the way up. That's an example of that. Is like can you be too strategic? The answer is yes. Can you be too competitive? Competition is one of your strengths. The answer is yes. You can be too analytical. You can be too relator. You can be too anything on things. You can dial it into the right spot. I like that. I like that. We often use this dials in terms of management too. Like we do a lot of management training. By the way, we've got a new management training program that we've put together. So like the problem that we see out there is that most people who are in management positions, y'all who are listening to this, who get to manage other people, you weren't trained to do that. Who trained you to do that? You just say, just put you in charge of the team and you're like, go for it. And you're like, what's the process for managing people? Well, we've developed that process. We've talked about it in this podcast a little bit. And we talk about, you give feedback, you assess performance, you give feedback, you see if they own it or not. And if they own it and take ownership in it, then you're in the coaching cycle and we're coaching them. And if they don't own it, then you're in the accountability cycle. And those two things look a lot differently. And we talk about like in the accountability cycle, what should you say? Let's say you have a great employee. I'm going to say it generically first. What do you say to an employee who is late to work?
You're fired.
Yeah. See, Diana, that's what I'm talking about.
Oh,
That's a
no.
10. That was a 10.
Well, I told you I have levers that don't show up to work late. I know.
Okay. Bethany, what would you say? What do you think?
Oh, I'd probably say, hey, what happened? Are you okay?
Dang it, Bethany.
Sorry.
Bethany's dialing up her empathy strength there a little bit, right? Are you okay? What's going on, right? Yeah. Yeah. And the answer is it kind of depends. Like when we train people, like it depends on, is that person late every day? Are they a great employee and they've never been late before and they walk in? Or are they late every 3 times a week and they're constantly late and they don't care about it? Like then you think about your accountability as a dial. So like if they've never been late before and they come in, like then you would have Bethany's response of like, hey, are you okay? Like, are you all right? You're running a little bit late today. Just want to make sure everything was okay. It's not, I'm not getting on you. I don't have to give you the employee manual or anything like that. But if they're showing up late every single day and you've been talking to them about it and you've been giving them the feedback constantly about it, then you could use a Diana approach of a 10 saying like, you're fired. I've been talking about this. You've been talking about this. I've expressed it to you that we're heading this direction. And so the idea is like when you start in that accountability loop, the first time you're in it, you should dial in like at a 1 or 2. You should be dialed low, but be clear about it. Like I've just noticed you were late to work. Like, and then you start to dial up the next time you're late to work. Hey, we start like at 8, right? And it's important to be here on time, right? Okay, just letting you know. And then dial it up a little bit more of saying, hey, I noticed you were late again, and we just talked about this. Like, what's going on? And then dial it up a little bit more of saying, hey, this is starting to really impact the rest of our team, and I can't let this continue. Like, you got to fix this problem. And then you dial it up a little bit more of saying, you know what? If we have talked about this multiple times, and if you're going to keep showing up late to work, then we're going to have a bigger discussion. And then you dial it up a little bit more of saying, if you're late again, I'm going to fire you. And then dial it up even more and say, you're late, you're fired. I'm letting you go. And that's Diana just did a fist bump there. Wow, Diana.
You're
Who hurt,
fired.
who hurt you, Diana? Diana.
So many people.
Oh,
But it's fine. I'm
it's
okay.
fine. Okay. Just turn it off. It's fine. Dial it.
I'm fine.
Pull the lever.
The lever's off
Another
now.
conversation.
Yeah.
Mhm, mhm.
So, I mean, let's talk about what's the challenge of that? Why? So that seems so clear when we talk about that. And when we train on it, people hear that and they go, well, obviously that makes a lot of sense. So why do we struggle with the dials in management?
I don't know if this is for everybody, but I think that the dials and our emotions don't often correspond perfectly, right? So like in the case where this person is late, if I'm frustrated that this person is late, they've, been late 6 times or 3 times, or they were late to a very important meeting and it made us look bad, right? If I have frustration, then my emotions are already dialed up higher than my reaction needs to be. And so I think, kind of finding the like, here, my emotions at a 10, but my reaction needs to be, my interaction with this person needs to be at a 3, right? And finding the balance between those is really difficult. Like that takes a lot of emotional intelligence. That takes a lot of like ability to pause and think through things and reflect. And it takes a lot of I don't know, self awareness, right? To just do that. And I think it's really difficult to match those levels.
Yeah, Bethany, I know we were talking before we went on the air here. Can we say on the air? You say that on a podcast when we got online, when we got on the webs? I don't know
I
what we
was
said,
nodding
but
and Diana was like, no.
no.
Before we started recording.
Before we started recording this podcast episode for you on
Yeah.
whatever your podcast platform is. Also, we could do podcast ads if anybody wanted to do like a which episode, which one you want to be on. Anyway, Bethany
We're
said,
consultants. I need people to know we're consultants. We have real jobs outside of just podcasting. We're not hungry, but we would take ad dollars. We're not starving. We're
we have
okay.
never sold an ad on this podcast. It's not for that. We just, it's for you guys. This is for you.
That's
And we
right.
have so many people that come to us and people that we've never met before who come and say, "Hey, I'll listen to that. I really appreciate it." So
But if you
we,
want airtime, we will sell it to you.
yes, but if you want airtime, we will also sell it. Yeah. So Bethany, as we got onto this, you talked a little bit about emotional intelligence. You mind to explain a little bit about what that is?
Oh, what is emotional intelligence in general?
Sure.
Yeah, I wish I had our just the actual like definition prepared and memorized, but I mean, I think it's just generally having a social awareness, being aware of the environment around you and how people are responding and how are you entering into that environment too, and being able to acknowledge and show up, acknowledge what's happening and show up correctly, I guess. I don't know if you would say that different. That was probably not a good definition, but
I think you said that pretty well. Yeah, it's managing yourself and other people, right?
yes, thank you.
It's knowing and acknowledging and managing your own emotions and knowing, acknowledging, managing the emotions of others, right? So
Right.
like Diana said, so if you might be at work and you're working on something and there's like it's you have a big event or something that's going on that day and the person who's never late to work shows up late to work
Mm.
and you're thinking about all these other things and your emotions are dialed up to a 10 and the person comes in, but they're being late is really like a 1 or 2, and you might then your dial might end up being a 6 or 7 when it really should be a 2, right? Because it all added up. And the idea of emotional intelligence is not to avoid the emotions, but to acknowledge them, right? And how do you do that?
Yeah. Well, and I was going to say, even on the flip side of it, like if you have low emotional intelligence, you might be dialing up your response too much, or you might not be responding at all in a situation where you should be responding and acknowledging something that needs to be addressed too.
Yeah, it works both ways. You might have a situation where you're sitting in your office and you're having a great day and everything's going really great, and somebody might show up late to work for the umpteenth time, and you're like, you know what? I'm not going to poke the bear today. I'm not even going to talk to anybody. Which, by the way, like when we talk with managers, is probably the more common problem. Like we probably see both directions. We like levers, so we'll see both responses. There's the 10 problem of the I overreacted to the person. But there's also there's probably more of the one problems, wouldn't you agree? Of like I didn't respond at all. I didn't even turn it on. It's still shut at 0. I didn't even tell them that it's late. And then sometimes what happens is you don't say it so many times, but you keep track of it in your head that you only say it when the emotion side kicks in high enough that it gets pushes you over the top, and then it's like a relief valve. The pressure just all comes out at once, and now you're levered all the way up to a 10 and pushing too hard on things. Yeah. So where else do we see dials in our lives? Where else are dials present?
I love that you were connecting it to leadership and management and that we've kind of already connected it to like the relationship stuff. I think obviously management is just people. So it really is anytime you're interacting with somebody about something that is important, right? Like, it could be anything. It could be the health stuff. It could also be this new process that needs to be figured out. And you developed the process yourself 10 years ago, and then somebody wants to change it, and you don't want them to change it, right? So it could be any of those things. It just takes a lot of situational awareness to know that you have many dials. It's not, you don't just have one dial, you have many, many dials, and certain things are going to hit you differently. I also think that there's dials that are really positive, that I have friends who are extreme extroverts, right? And I am not. And so those extroverts, if they come at me every time extroverted, I'm going to get exhausted by that. That's authentically who they are. But if they're coming at me every day, like, it's sunshine and rainbows and roses, and I'm like, it is death and destruction. What are you talking about? It's not going to work. So you have to learn how to interact with everyone on every dial and use all of your dials all of the time. And that's hard.
So if your energy dial's dialed at a 10 and somebody else's is at a 1, then you're not meeting them where we always talk about meeting people where they are, right? You're not meeting them where they are. I think of like the aunt who meets the little kid who's scared about meeting at the family reunion or something, and the little kid is nervous already about being there, and the aunt is, oh, look at you, you're so cute, come here, give me a big hug, and the kid like cowers behind the parents, like, I am terrified of being this. How, little kids who are kind of scared in an event or a little bit nervous, they tend to gravitate people who are also kind of chill. Right, just kind of chill, and they acknowledge them. They say, "Hey, how's it going? Just good to see you there." And they kind of are low key about it. Then that's how you can connect with people. Yeah. It also strikes me, Diana, as you talked about, it's just about people, is it's not just about how you show up with others, it's also how you think about others. Like in terms of dial, we tend to think, we've done a whole podcast on this. We think to people in terms of heroes or villains, and that's like a 1 or a 10, right? I mean, most people are not a hero and most people are not a villain. Most people are somewhere in the middle of those two things. And so if somebody does something to us at work and we think that they're bad, then there must be a villain. I shared a story recently that I was on a flight, and a guy sat next to me and said I was in his seat. And I think I shared this one in an episode already, but he was in my seat. He's like, "You're in my seat." And so finally, I showed, like, I did the Midwest thing and said, "Oh, I'm sorry, I'm in your seat." And I pulled out the ticket and looked at it, and I was not in his seat. I was in my seat, and he was the empty seat next to me. But he was very upset and very not happy, and you could tell. And I said, "Well, do you want to switch seats?" And he goes, "Yeah." And then we switched seats, and he sat down, and he looked at me, and he goes, "Thought so," and did that. It is really easy to dial that up and like have a 10 perspective of the person. And I've told that story to a group. And it turned out that long story short, it turned out that the guy finally connected with the guy a little bit on the flight. And it turned out that he had a really big backstory. He had just gotten out of prison. He had some other things that were going on with him, and he was trying to do the right things in his life. And so, I mean, his world was very different that he was used to on a day-to-day basis. But he turned out to be, I mean, a really nice guy as I was chatting with him. Like, he's not evil. He's not a 10 evil and a 1. And so if I treated him like a 10, that situation could have escalated really, really badly. So you have to kind of watch that. You have to watch the stories that you make in your head. That's not just true for people, it's true for situations.
Yeah, and I also, as you were talking, it reminded me of this teacher that I had. And this teacher was a lever, like off or on. This teacher was generally very chill, all like let us do whatever we wanted to do, did not make us stay in our assigned seats. Like, he was a very chill teacher. And every once in a while, about once a quarter, he would flip, and all of a sudden he'd be like, "Get in your seats, we're doing work today," right? And it was such a weird, I don't know, such a shift that it freaked everybody out. And we were kind of like, is he on drugs today? Like, what's happening? What is this? And I think when we were all teenagers, so we didn't have the nuance to understand that maybe he's just having a bad day, and like all of these things could have happened to him. But I do think that weird switch in people's brains, or the weird like flip, causes people to really push away. And so when you do use levers instead of dials, I think it creates more barriers for you. I think when you're generally one way all of the time, and then all of a sudden completely opposite, it's going to create a barrier and it's going to create disharmony for the people around you, and it's going to create distrust. And so if you can kind of have a dial for your interactions and use the appropriate interactions at the appropriate time, then you're going to build trust quicker.
Yeah, I could think of somebody I used to work with who used to just regularly on a regular basis tell everybody they work with how much they love them and how much they respect them. And you're just the best ever. And I'm never going to leave you. And this is going to go on for forever and all the things. And it would be like that 90% of the time. And then 10% of the time, it was, this isn't what I wanted, and this is terrible, and you're awful, and I hate this, and da, 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 and would just suddenly swing the other way. And then it would be back, and I love you, and then dude, you'd be hearing that, and you're like, suddenly, I don't trust you. Like I don't trust what's coming out of your mouth. I don't trust what's happening. So I mean, yeah, when you swing hard like that, and the swing's probably caused emotionally, like whatever's happening to you that day, and you're probably not aware of it, that creates a lot. Now, I imagine some people are talking. One of you threw out the term authenticity. That
Authentic.
word,
Mm-hmm.
authentic, being authentic. I've heard people say like I am who I am and that's it. Like I've had people say that to me and like well, that's so I'm gonna be who I am. I'm gonna keep it real. This is who I am and I'm gonna say things to you. And if your baby's ugly, I'm gonna tell you and that kind of thing. Is that authenticity? Like how does authenticity play into dials?
I don't, my immediate reaction is you can be authentic without being an a-hole. That's my immediate reaction. Right. And so I think it's not about the dial there or the lack of authenticity. Now you've got me not saying it right. It's more about how you interact with that authenticity. I can be very direct, but very kind. I can dial up my directness so that it is very clear what we need, but I can also dial up kindness so that it's also very clear I still care. Right. And so I think you have to use a combination of those dials. It's not just I'm going to dial up directness without also dialing up empathy and kindness. So I think you have to play with the different components that you're dialing up or down, and not anytime you're all one thing, it's probably going to go poorly.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, as an engineer, like the dials gives you more control, it gives you more options, right, than the levers do. But you still are who you are at the end of the day.
Yeah, we're not suggesting that you deny yourself so that you completely, right? But it's like, yeah, you have to be able to turn some of those things down a little bit. Another area, I'm just pivoting us a little bit here. But one thing that I was thinking about of another area that we use that you might use dials in is like change management. And that can be, we've talked about that, that can be a whole other topic too. But like we were talking about, Diana, you were talking about how you would typically show up to meetings. Your authentic self should connect to that. Is like the way that you would show up to meetings is like, and correct me if I'm wrong, but like very efficient, like let's not waste time, let's get to business. What do we need to do? Who's going to do it? How quickly are we going to do it? The end, let's wrap it up. Okay, do we have a process for it, right?
That would be amazing. Yes.
Right. Yes, which is great, except for some people don't work like that. And like what's the downside of that in every meeting? If not in every meeting, but
I mean, in most
meetings,
you're not building trust or relationship there, or probably psychological safety. It feels very like mechanical, and I don't know. You tell me how it feels to be in one of my meetings.
You don't do it for every meeting. So because you've dialed that down in some meetings when it's not necessary. But I think that like it connects to the change management side, because I think people tend to, when they see opportunities for change within organizations, especially like new leaders who are coming in, or yeah, people like Diana who have this great personality type and these strengths, but they could maybe have that tendency to like pull a hard lever and say, we're going to make this change and we're going to do all of this stuff at one time and it's going to be awesome and let's get it done. And I think it can kind of have the opposite effect that what they're hoping for, and it might not create that lasting change that we were talking about before. And so like there are moments to figure out like how do you dial up in the right places in like a change management process. So I don't know if you guys have thoughts about that too.
I have a weird image that comes to my mind when we think about change management is it's almost like you're meeting a dog in an alley and the dog is not like a ferocious dog, but you're trying to pet the dog and maybe feed the dog a little bit. How you approach the dog and how you approach change management is very similar. Like if you run towards the dog's going to run the other direction and try to get away from you. If you try to feed the dog or grab the dog's going to bite you and can be very, very angry with you. You have to kind of approach the dog carefully and just kind of put things out there like, hey, I'm just going to be here for a second. And will you tolerate me being here? And then I'm going to put some food out here. Will you tolerate that? And will you tolerate me like scratching your head for a little bit? Then how will that feel? I think change management's similar to that. If you push it too hard on the team pushes back. If you just kind of put things out there and kind of just put some waves, my friend Brian Fogel talks about Fogel wave theory of like you just sometimes you just cast the idea out there a little bit, stick it on the table, and see how people respond to it. If they don't respond well to it, you got to kind of pull back a little bit. Like there's just times where you dial it up a little bit and then dial it back down. Like, okay, just you just process that for a minute. Just think about it. If you're pitching the idea and you're pressing the idea on people, people will press back. That's I don't know. Diana, you looked very judgmental about the dog in the alley analogy, but that's the every time change management happens, that's the image in my head.
Listen, I had no idea where you were going with it, but it turned out good. I am fine with this. I was very concerned for a minute, though.
I could see it in your face. You're like, I don't what the dog in an alley thing. But
What?
yeah,
I'm thinking about the specific example. So like Diana has been helping us internally to like create some good systems. She always has, but this year we've been working on some like communication cadences and what are the systems, how are we tracking the work that we're doing and being really intentional about some of our meetings and stuff like that. And I mean, I think one of the meetings that I lead for our team, she was kind of like, hey, we've created a planner board for these other meetings that we do. What do you want to just see what I made? Do you want to use this for this meeting? And I was like, well, I don't know if I want to. And she's like, okay. And then she like brought it up again and I was like, okay, yeah, we can let's try it, I guess. Here's my questions about it. Let's just try it. And so we've tried it and we're like using it and it's all good. Like it didn't have to be a crazy thing, but it was just like, she really didn't press it. She had sort of implemented it in some other areas. And then she, like you said, Don, she kind of like floated it to me and was like, you want to just see it? And I was like, yeah, I guess so. And so she did like, whereas I think that if she could just if she didn't have to work around me is what I'm saying with the team, she would just be like, we're just going to do all of this. Everybody, just so you know, we're going to put this in place. We're going to do this one and then we're going to do this one and then we're going to do this one. But she adjusted her dials to make it happen. So
That's hilarious. And also, I will say there are more things that are coming, right? Like Donna and I have had conversations about, he's like, I think we're missing this. And I'm like, don't worry. I know we're missing that. I got it. It's in the plan. I'm going to move these things next. But I didn't want to run up and chase the dog and grab it because then it would snarl and bite me, right? I was like, not going to do that. I'm gonna I'm gonna feed it and scritch it for a minute till it trusts me, and then I'll give it treats, and then we'll do more things together.
I like that. Bethany's the dog, I guess, in this scenario. I'm
I
sorry,
thought I
Bethany,
was
but
the dog at first. I don't,
yeah,
I don't know
everyone's
who
a
we're
that
all
beast.
the
is.
dog. Who's the dog?
We're
We're
all
all
the
the
dog.
dog.
We're all a little bit of the dog. Well, I hear some leaders probably saying, like, well, look, I own the company or I'm the manager of the team, so why can't I just tell everybody what to do and let's just do it? Well, you can, but there's the human side of that. There's just the human side. It's just like the dog in the alley. The dog is going to snarl at you and bite you. You might be able to overpower the dog. You're bigger than the dog. You might be able to hold the dog. You might be able to keep the dog from biting you, but it's going to take a lot of energy and a lot of time. You think you're doing it fast. You think you're cutting a corner, but then you're fighting people along the way. And we work with teams a lot where a leader had a pretty good vision for what to install, but they didn't install it right. They got ahead of their team. They didn't meet people where they are. The team's not bought into it. And then it just drags. Like nothing quite works. It's like, I've said that I want this to happen. Why isn't this happening? And it's probably because you left the team behind. Where if you create it and do it the way like Bethany, that example is fantastic. Is I had a conversation with Diana where Diana's like, well, I think we need to move this to the planner board. It kind of makes sense. And I think I said, yeah, that kind of makes sense. And so it was, let's float it to Bethany and see what she thinks on it. The other thing I would add to it too is that like Diana's been installing those systems over the last year for people centric. She's got a vision for this whole thing. but she's doing it slowly over time, which I think is faster than if she tried to do it all at once. If she just showed up January 1st and said, here's all the systems we're doing and tried to install it, she would have a lot of trouble trying to get us all to do all of the things. Where now I think we're bought in and we see what's going on and we see like this is a good direction. But I would also add that I'll bet that we have also tweaked some of those systems based on what that Diana maybe wouldn't have created it that way. So there is got to be some authenticity to say like, if Bethany did say, "Oh, I do really want to use this other tool instead of this one that we're using here," that there might be a possibility of saying, "Okay, we might stick with it if it truly is better," right? So you also have to go into we often say communication only happens when you know you might be wrong. If you're going into change management and you're trying to change a team, you might dial it up a little bit, but don't dial it up just to manipulate the other person into doing it. Dial it up also because you might be wrong. There might be a piece of the change that you would go to implement that somebody else has an idea that would make it better than what your original idea was. So that shows us that's when we need each other. That's where that empowerment alignment really come together.
Yeah, I think one thing that I've worked on dialing up and change manage it is my own curiosity. So that way, when somebody says, hey, I think this might be better if we did it this way or lined it up, then I'm not instantly like, no, don't worry, I figured it out, right? This is gonna be fine. Then I can say, oh, okay, well, tell me more about that. Like, let me dial up my curiosity. Let me dial down control, my controlling nature. Let's just dial up curiosity. Let's dial up collaboration and let's figure it out and make it really good together.
Yeah, and if you dial it up too high, and I'll tell you, dialed up Don, who has appeared many, many times in my career, is not very powerful and it's very lonely and very frustrating because dialed up Don shows up to a meeting and says, I've got an idea, and no one wants to hear it. Nobody wants to hear it because it's like, okay, you're just gonna talk at us now and you're gonna push this idea that nobody wants to do.
We want to hear it. We do.
Well, now I'm like dialed in Don,
Oh,
which
I
is
like,
different.
like that
I'm not
distinction.
I'm not dialed up Don. I'm dialed in Don. So now I'm a highly effective leader and the whole team just loves everything that I do. So that's really effective, right? How come you guys are both laughing a lot? Neither one of them can come on because you're both laughing too hard. That's
Yeah,
weird.
we're just reacting.
React to it. I'm dialed
Dialed
up.
in Dawn is my new favorite version of Dawn. I'm just
No.
gonna, I can't.
Don't be dialed up, be dialed in and be aware of your own emotions. So all the things. Well, listen, all you lever people out there who love your levers, we're not telling you to not be authentic. We're not telling you to hide yourself. Sometimes you got to be at a 10. Sometimes you got to lever up. Sometimes you got to run through brick walls and do all the things. Sometimes you got to do the 75-day thing. Sometimes you got to perform like a champion and do the things. But there's other times where maybe coming in with a softer approach is okay. Maybe you need to come in a little bit and just ask a question and be curious and post something out there, or maybe just give a little bit of a nudge. You don't have to manage in huge conversations. You can manage in nudges, and it's really powerful. Just give a little bit of feedback. Everything doesn't have to be a performance appraisal or you call into your office and talk about things. You could just say, hey, that didn't seem like that went very well. What do you think? Those little nudges, those things that you can just dial in. If you can work through with people on a low level, lower dial, there's a lot less energy that's spent on that, and there's a lot more buy-in that can be there. So be aware when you're dialed up too high. Instead of dialing up, dial in. There you go. That's the message. That's the punchline. Okay. Now Diana's going to give a word from our sponsor. Go ahead, Diana.
I got nothing. I'm too stuck on dialed in, Dawn. I'm trying to figure out how we can put that on your business card. Like, where do we put this? I don't know.
This is why we don't have a lot of sponsorships. We're not very good at this part of this. Yeah. I wonder
You
which
have to give
sponsor.
me a category. I would come up with something if I had a category.
Well, what sponsor could we get that would help us on a dialed episode? Just throwing that out there. There is a
Dials.
you can't don't say the name for
I
free,
can say the
Diana.
name
We're just
for
giving it
free.
away.
We'll just
Fine.
cut that. We're just gonna cut this out. So
We'll just cut it out. We'll edit it out. We'll edit it out. Nobody needs to know. Nobody needs to know what it is.
Oh my gosh.
Thanks a lot for joining us on the People Centric Podcast. Send us your ideas. As always, we'd love to hear them. Send us your feedback. Tell us you're loving what we do, or tell us you're hating what we do. I don't care. Whatever. Just send it to us. We love to hear from you. And we'll catch you next time. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you for listening to the People Centered Podcast. We are so grateful for you joining us every week. If you like this content, please like and subscribe. Also, feel free to share on your social media with everyone that you know. It really does help us. If you would like to contact us, I have put our information in the show notes. Please reach out anytime. We love hearing from you. We will be back next week with a new topic. Until then, be well and lead well.